Hey, how's it going? It's April 18th, 2011. It's 7:47 p.m. and I just want to kind of just start off by saying that this video, I am specifically kind of gearing this video towards trans folks out there. Whether or not you're a subscriber or somebody who's just a casual viewer, hey hey. So I'd like you to view my videos a lot more frequently because I love when people just check in and share ideas and, because it means a lot. And yeah, I'd like to be able to connect and we can be friends. So, um, while if you aren't transgendered, I don't want you to feel excluded in the sense that, well, I'm just going to not watch this video because it doesn't relate to me. I will say that what I can tell you, what I'm telling trans folks in this video, is absolutely key and helpful in being a better ally or a better lover. Well, not necessarily, but a better friend or a better partner or a better coworker or whatnot. So, and also too, this video is going to be hecka long, hecka long. But yeah, so I want to start by just kind of talking about what I really want to focus on, and I want to focus on like health. And I'm not a health nut, I'm not a health guru or whatnot, and I don't like the word guru. It's just so weird, it makes me feel weird. But there are some things that I've learned that I feel like are just kind of inevitable and so important to focus on, and some of those things kind of revolve around stress and anxiety. For a long time I've been going into my own transitioning, coming out, kind of having like an outpouring at the first month. Many times, but like having one really pivotal like experience where I just kind of like dropped everything and just was like, I can't do anything, I can't do it, I can't do it. And then more recently, kind of in lieu of what happened a week ago when I was assaulted twice in one night, but was able to kick ass and survive and make it out and make this video. So if you're watching this video, like, you ran away and fought and kicked ass, so you better watch this video. But also too, just like kind of being harassed while going out one night, while I was with some friends and I meandered off, and this is just, it's neither here nor there. But basically getting to this point where like I've been in this really fuck man attitude or, fuck the world attitude, and while it's really important and therapeutic to kind of just complain and just go, fuck, that is really, it's really important just to go. Anyways, it's also important to know like when to put the brakes on and say like, all right, am I going towards the realm of falling into more and more negativity? And that's kind of where I found myself, and I'm like, okay, I can apply the brakes and stop, because this is actually starting to consume me in more parts of my day, in more spaces in my mind, and I'm not filling up the space up here with some warm thoughts and like positive thoughts and creativity. Instead, it's getting eaten up by shit. But the truth is, it's just like, okay, so then pulling away from that, I did, and then I started feeling really sick. My body was achy, like I could not move at all. Back was achy everywhere. It was just so painful. I was like walking like I was, I don't know, like unable to, really, like. And last night, just throwing up from feeling so sick and carrying this like grossness at the bottom of my stomach. And then, again, I don't necessarily like, oh well, to get rid of stress, all you need to do is just puke. Sometimes that works, but I want to say, like, if you find yourself vomiting a lot, there's some stuff that, make sure you're basically at a point where like you need some sort of medical help and friendship and love and like swaddling, and So there are times where, okay, I think you get the point. I hope. Okay, if you have questions, just question me. Okay, please. So I just found myself, just getting rid of a lot of stuff because my body is very fluent in speaking to me. It's very fluent in body edge, body knees, body in. And it's like, you are not feeling well, Cristina. You are struggling with some things. I'm gonna make your back hurt. But learning how to read that and get reconnected to my body. And I'm thinking, like, wow, I've been storing a lot of, like, stuff for the past couple of years inside of me, and it's gross. It's making me feel gross and heavy and old and, beleaguered. Beleaguered. And that's no good, because, I mean, eventually it gets to the point where, like, my ability to look at my, like, perspective in life starts to do this and starts to narrow, where it's like if I just, like, move a little bit to the left or the right, I start feeling anxious and bothered, and I have to struggle to kind of stay calm. And that's a space that I kind of want to talk to trans folks and kind of, like, working away from, like, being stuck there. And why is it important? Why? Because, okay, if you're someone like myself, yesterday, checking my blood pressure readings, like, they were honestly pretty high. It was not good. I mean, not necessarily serious. I wasn't in the realm of hypertension, but I was just at that point where it's just pretty close to it. Now, let me just tell you something. For folks maybe questioning whether or not you want to go on hormone therapy, specifically the same regimen that I'm on, estrogen and testosterone blockers, spironolactone. If you feel, like, stressed out, you are gonna feel really sick. If your blood pressure is too high or off, you are gonna feel sick. So I just want to, like, give you a warning, like, your body's gonna react in a way that is gonna just, like, kind of not necessarily shut down on itself, but it's just gonna be really hard to function on a daily level. And when you're struggling and suffering in this way, it's really hard to be positive. It's really hard to be strong. It's really hard to be fun and creative and live your life. Even icy hot won't do anything. Seriously. So I just kind of, like, want to, focus on that. And also, what are some ways? What are some ways to actually make life more manageable? So, I decided to do something kind of interesting in my day. Kind of, like, make a list of things that bother me. Like, moments in my day where I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna go out, first I'm gonna get ready for work, and then get dressed and make up, and then get on the bus and get to work, and then stuffs, and then leave work, and whatever else I do from there. So I just started, like, just keeping a little sheet of, like, moments in my day that I would really rather do without, or certain things I'd rather do without. So, with makeup and stuff, there's a lot of anxiety, because it's like, well, if I don't have my makeup, then I'm not gonna pass as well, and then I'm gonna get some shit from people, and that's the truth, So here's something that I've, like, decided, like, some suggestions. Give yourself a lot of time in the morning, if that's when you go to work, or whenever you go to work. Give yourself more time to get ready. Don't, like, bottleneck those last moments before catching the bus or heading to work, and not give yourself the time and the respect of just, like, that hour that you need to get ready. And if it's an hour, then it's so be it. It's okay. It's just silly. It's like, okay, so this can be a fun hour. You have little snacks and tea, put some makeup on if that's what you need to do. So time, building in a better schedule. Okay, so then now I'm going on the bus, and now I'm like sitting on the bus, and there's like 20 people on the bus, and I'm like, everyone's looking at me, and I'm like wondering, am I passing? Do I look okay? Am I passing? Oh, I am passing. I think I look okay. And now this creepy dude in the back is like being gross and giving me gross eyes. Okay. In that situation, there's really nothing that one can do about gross eyes. I mean, I guess you can confront that person, but for the most part, what I really want to focus on is trying to think of where you want to place your mind in the situation where you're riding on the train or you're on the bus. And one thing I was thinking of was actually, bringing something to read. While it may feel like an excuse or a cop-out from actually having to, deal with the heat and the anxiety, the stress of people looking at you, just, bring something to read, and just find a spot where, if you feel more comfortable sitting near the driver, sit near the driver, sitting near an exit, try to be mindful of where the spot on whatever it is you feel the safest. If possible, like honestly, like ride with a friend. If you're riding on the train, for instance, you don't have the luxury of sitting next to the driver, for instance. So find somebody that you can commute with, have a commuting buddy. But basically, like, turn it so that instead of your scope being everyone around you, kind of being able to just fine-tune it into something like a book, and just like, that's it. Just be there and just get lost a little bit. Keep awareness of your surroundings, but just focus on that. Like you deserve to just enjoy like that comic book that you're reading, and just be there. And then, with enough time, like, you'll be at your station or wherever you need to get off, and you're done, and that's done, and you had some reading time. It's not perfect, but it's just a way to distract yourself. And then for me, then there's the walk to work from that point on. So I want to say, like, it's really super duper important to take into consideration like where you walk and how you walk. So say for instance, I try to walk in the center of downtown, like right through the middle. And for me, that's the spot that feels the safest with the most traffic with people and whatnot. And so that's something I do, and I also try to choose the most direct route. So a combination of the two, but definitely the safest comes first. So so that for me, really makes me feel a lot better, because I know that I'm doing the most that I can do for myself. And while there are guys that honk at me in their cars and like staring, and sometimes people wondering like what's going on, just try to think about where you're looking. Sometimes I like to like look to the side and do some window shopping, as I pass along, and just don't forget to keep your head up, and don't look down all the time. Just like, keep your head up. Walk strong. Like just, do you know what I'm saying? Like, because one of the most important things I feel like with passing in general, is just being able to be confident in, or at least to make it look like you're confident. And I'm not trying to say that passing is the only thing that matters, is important. It varies to different degrees. But regardless of passing or safety or whatever it is it means to you, just having as confident of a walk as possible it's gonna be worth $1 million to you. And then at work, I'm like, well, there are customers and coworkers. this is a little bit more intricate, but I've talked with my bosses and whatnot about some of the things that I um, value, some of the things that are really important to me, my identity, my expression, who I am, the way I want to feel like at work, and what are ways to make those things happen. So, trying to take this whole list of things one at a time. Don't, but trying, most places don't have some sort of section on what to do in terms of like being harassed as somebody who's transgendered. But at the same time, you can kind of work out some policy, like this customer's harassing me, or I'm getting bullshit from customers or coworkers or whatnot. What to do with pronouns so that you can kind of make people feel comfortable. You know, and kind of make this more of a cohesive movement towards like this being a place you actually really enjoy. So while it may not be in the human resources manual, go ahead and make it. Like, be that person who just takes that stride, find out what's there, and work with it, change it, adjust it, and make that time, that the hours that you're going to be there at work as enjoyable as possible, because you still actually have to work, so it's like you don't want the extra work. So and also too, like some sort of thing like, oh, customers being a douchewagon, like, so what do I do? Like, I need to like bail out because emotionally I'm feeling badgered to the point where I don't really want to deal with this. So like just having some sort of communication system, if that's possible, try to make it happen. So you can go through your day. Like for me, I went outside to get some air this past weekend while hanging out, going out dancing, and I went out by myself. And of course, that's when this one guy just gets in my face. So the truth is, like, it's really important for me to be strong, but not stupid. And in that case, I probably most definitely should have like gone with a friend outside. And I don't think it's too much of an inconvenience to ask someone to come out with me. But for the most part, just acknowledging the fact that assholes exist. They just do. And, sometimes it's like you don't necessarily have to be the movement that changes things. You don't want to be the movement that changes things as your own life, as an example. But, you want to live with integrity, of course. But at the same time, don't try to carry all of the societal imperfections and have them all fixed right here, right now. Sometimes it's just better to buffer that and work within that proxy and change things to that proxy, because once something gets personalized, it hurts a shit ton more, and that's a shitty place to be, and you're gonna feel so down, so sad, so bothered, so angry, and that's a hard place to work out of. But if you need to do that to find out, I'm just gonna say, like, just understand that, like, there comes a point where sometimes it's like, I saw the sign, for instance, this photograph. Our society in the U.S. teaches people not to be raped instead of teaching not to rape. And I found that to be a very powerful thing. And the truth is, that's kind of the situation that a lot of trans folks like us sit in. It's like we're taught to work within the confines of like, well, you were asking for it. You were dressing in the opposite person's gender's clothes. You should have been more safe. Fuck you, and that's the mindset of some people. Well, I'm not necessarily saying that you should work within that context at all, because it's bullshit. I will say that sometimes it's better to live and fight another day. And it's better to fight together with friends, with allies, with other trans folks. But kind of just going through the day, it doesn't have to be so ginormous, like all the different little things that I pointed out. Even if it's just like, I don't like the way that person stared at me. That's definitely something on my list multiple times a day. I'm getting to the point where I'm thinking, like, the truth is, people will stare, and that's fine. So my counter to that is, I just remind myself, like, hey Cristina, like, you're an amazing person, and you don't have to prove yourself to that person at all. You don't. And just be okay with it. Just move on. Just like, no judgment of that person, because as soon as you make a judgment on that person, they begin to own you. You know what I mean? Like, that person's an asshole, and suddenly, like, now there's this link, and that person has that control over you, and that is not a good spot to be in. Just be like, okay, that person is in a pile of do not want. Okay, I'm just gonna put them right over here. Do not want, just like move to the side. And also, like, some of the things that, these are things that happen. Kind of think about things that that don't happen as much. I would like to hang out more with this friend. I would like to bake more. I would like to go on a run with some friends. Just all sorts of things that you kind of add. And suddenly, when you're like taking away things that suck and starting to add things that are a lot more beneficial and more positive, like that feeling of like, oh, in terms of suicide, in terms of negativity, in terms of like all that stuff, like no one decides, I don't want to say no one, but like, suicide and giving up and all these things and being stuck, a lot of it has to do with the fact that the sum of the parts equal to something that are just painful and hurtful. And what I'm saying is, not necessarily to argue with the fact with which this computation works, because this computation works in a healthy mind as well. So work within that and start to take away something that's bad, add something that's good, and suddenly, like, it starts to move away from like the lack of purpose to feeling grounded and centered, and it's like you start moving away from like purpose and more towards just being able to be free, and then it moves again to the point where you can start focusing on other things. Like, oh, I think it's time for me to move. Okay, do I feel, like, there are just all sorts of things, and all I can say is, like I said before, you can't answer all these questions all the way through, but it's really important in the process of taking things out and adding good things. It's about buying yourself time, and I really want to emphasize this point more than anything, is transitioning and coming out and dealing with bullshit and everything and growing and evolving has to do with buying yourself time. Because, like, you start off in this adventure in a very, very difficult spot. No one really comes out as just like, oh, everything's perfect, because that's not what it, because no, it's about self-awareness and discovery and readjusting and changing your life. So it's like, well, while you can't necessarily kick Sauron's ass right now, you're gonna need to hang out with the Fellowship for a little bit, and then go for a while with Sam, and then rely on Gollum for a while. Like, they're just different parts to the story that is you. And nothing gets just solved in such a short amount of time. So as you go through this process of readjusting, you'll find yourself a month later, a week later, even just the day later, and it suddenly starts to feel a little bit more manageable, and your life starts to feel a little bit more livable. And when shit happens to you that's really bad, you'll be ready for it, and you'll be more prepared. So, just work within that framework. That's what I try to do. Like, that's just like when people tell me, like, Cristina, you're really strong. Like, I know that at any moment things could go badly, and then I can be pushed over. But, you know, being transgendered, there are lots of things. Like, a painful thing is a painful thing times 2. A shitty thing is a shitty times 3. Like, it's not just the same. It's not working within the same proportions as cisgendered folks. It's a lot more difficult. So be proud of yourself. You get through the day, like, high five, pat your back. And, you know, talk this stuff out. That's the reason why I do this channel, is because I want to talk it out. And so yeah, I know, like I said, I know that I have the ability to slip and lose track, but I think about different ways to kind of address, like, I'm struggling right now. What are my plans right now when I'm struggling like this? So, coming up with fail-safes, and, you know, and that's it. And loving yourself, because that's essentially what we're working towards. It's not just about surgery or changing pronouns. Like, these are all embellishments in terms of trying to be able to have the space with which you can love yourself. But ultimately, what matters the most is knowing that in the end, like, what you may be working for is just being able to, like, look at yourself, or think in yourself in your head, think of when you say I, that you feel good about. Like, I'm being honest. When I say I'm speaking as a woman. There's no question about that at all. And my confidence to say that is built on love. So, anyways, I've talked your ears off, and I wish you all well. And for allies who've just, you know, sat through this whole video, bravo, because being transgendered is not easy. Being an ally to somebody who's transgendered is not either. There's a lot of things, a lot of things to be supportive of, and yeah, I think the world is going to be a little bit better. It's going to be a little bit better. That's what I always tell myself. Anyways, take care. Questions, comments, please post them. Hate mail, send it to president@whitehouse.gov. Just kidding. It's gonna get worse before it gets better. Oh no. Or don't worry, it gets better. I just have to say, it's better already, and it's gonna get better. It's gonna get better. Better what? Anyways, take care, and I will talk to you all soon. Okay.